in the world is going on?
Welcome back to AW Services. I'm Austin. Today we have a new review, and it's a generator review. So if you've just found my channel, hit subscribe. If you like the video, you dislike the video after you've watched it, give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Either way, it helps the channel out massively. And also don't forget to hit the bell icon. So for today's feature review is the Clarke IG1700F 1.7kW inverter generator. I purchased this personally from Machine Mart in Exeter, Devon. I'm not sponsored or endorsed by Machine Mart or in any way by Clarke Power Tools Limited. So it's a completely independent review based upon my own opinion and also my own experience with Clarke power generators, as this is the second one that I purchased. So I wanted a generator that was small yet lightweight and compact. My old suitcase style generator has now retired and it's died after nearly 20 years of use and regular servicing, so it's time to buy something new. So I've gone for the new Clarke open frame. It's very similar to what you'd find within a suitcase generator, however this one is now enclosed in a wraparound open steel frame, so I would say it's a lot more robust. So I haven't got the box. I purchased it straight off the shop floor, so the box has been recycled for me. With the generator came its normal toolkit with its spark plug wrench and a very useful oil filler funnel, which are invaluable, that particular design. Looks a bit like a shiwi, but fantastic design. We'll talk a bit more about that later. So generator comes with a very good inclusive manual, all in English, with illustrations and pointers on how to use the generator as well. So when you get your new generator and you take it out of the box, the first thing to do is to check it for any damage or if there's any faults with it straight away, and then you can contact the person where you purchased it from and say, look, I have a problem. First thing I always do with any new generator is to check all of the fasteners, all of the nuts and bolts which are on the engine, the suspension cradle, the feet. Make sure they're all tight. I have done in the past, after the warranty has expired, I have gone around and changed all the nuts for my locking nuts as well, just so they don't rattle free. But regular servicing, preventative maintenance will make a product like this last indefinitely. So talking a bit more about the generator and its performance and its specifications. It's a 1.7kW open frame generator. On the front of the generator, I cut away to camera 2, we have two 13 amp 230 volt UK sockets. We've also got a warning indicator light, low oil, overload protection, and then we've got our AC, which shows we have power being generated. We have our economy switch and our engine stop switch. So eco switch, as we've mentioned, has a 10 litre fuel tank. Lovely filler cap on the fuel tank, never had a problem with these leaking. And also inside you have a filter basket, which is handy to stop any dirt or debris getting into the tank or into the carburettor. So estimated running time is 8 hours at 3/4 load, with a maximum load of 1700 watts and a continuous rating of 1500 watts. 95 decibels. The dimensions of the unit: length, width and height 390 by 450 by 440 millimeters. We'll go back to camera 2. So a beautiful design, very compact. On the back we have a nice well-made exhaust silencer with a flame arrestor, which is fitted as standard on a lot of these generators. So we've looked at our front panel, our 2 sockets, our earthing bonding point, very nicely made, well put together, a nice sleek look. On top of the fuel tank we also have a fuel gauge showing empty and full, very handy at quick glance. So we've got our overhead valve cover on this side with our engine choke start and run lever, our fuel pepcock stop on and off tap for our fuel. Very handy to have. On a lot of smaller generators they're sometimes non-existent or very poorly made, but this one's very good. A small air cleaner, carburettor, a really nice small compact design, low distortion, plus 1 AC output, so it does have sine wave technology built into it. Product weight dry without fuel or oil is 21.5 kilograms. We've spoken about its fuel capacity. Its part number is 8877095 and the model number again, India Golf 1700 Foxtrot. Beautiful little generator, a new addition to my fleet, very handy for using out and about, just to power small or very bright LED powered floodlights, also photography equipment, and I hope to use it camping very shortly. With our lockdown restrictions in the UK being eased, I aim to take a holiday very shortly as a little camping trip, and obviously I can charge my whole technology department with that when I'm out and about in the field. But if you have any questions on the generator, feel free to leave them below in the comments. As I previously said, don't forget to hit subscribe, hit the bell icon, give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. In the next video I will talk more about first time use, filling with oil, fueling the generator and starting for the first time, and talking a bit more about a braking in procedure. That's something I do with a brand new thing like this. But thank you very much for watching. Welcome back everybody. So this second part of the video we're going to talk more about starting the generator for the first time. So we've gone through and we've covered all of our checks to make sure that our generator is free of any faults, any issues, all of our nuts and bolts are tight. Next thing we need to do, we need to start to think about filling it for the first time and getting it ready for its first use. So on the front of the generator, or on the side in this case, I've already checked. I've taken the HT lead off and the cap for the spark plug. I've also made sure that the spark plug is tight and it's not over tightened, there are no cracks, and we're ready to use. I also spray for the first time a very small amount of WD-40 or a fine mineral oil spray lubricant with a straw into the top of the piston cylinder and around the top, so we cover our bore. This also aids then to make sure that starting for the first time there's no friction, the piston rings are seated correctly in the factory, and we can pull it over without starting it, without any binding or grinding. So first use, keep cutting away to one camera and then another. So locate on your new generator your oil filler cap on the bottom of the crankcase. All generators in the UK, and I think a lot of the EU compliant generators, are always shipped without any lubricants to avoid environmental pollution in case they leak. So with any generator or small engine, I always use an SAE 30 oil, always recommended in the owner's manual. Always check and read through thoroughly before starting or attempting to start your generator for the first time. So filling the oil can take a little bit of time, but there's only one way to get it done properly, and that's to do it right the first time. So carefully undo the bottle, being very careful not to put any debris or any foil into the actual oil itself when opening the cap. We'll also use our issued oil filler funnel, or our shiwi as I like to call them. So there's no debris in the crankcase, and it's just a case of very slowly filling, try to alleviate any airlocks and any unnecessary spillage. I will check and find out the exact capacity of the oil and leave that within the comments as well. So generally when we fill, we need to get it midway up at the filler inlet, which is in theory just below the threaded section. They are on most of the Clarke generators, but it's a case of filling, insert the dipstick, pull the dipstick out and check. So give the generator a good rock backwards and forwards, let that oil get around the crankcase and keep checking it with the eye. SE30 is quite a nice viscosity oil, not too thick, not too light, very good in summer use as well, and also winter. Can take time to fill with oil. Right, let's pop our dipstick in. Be careful not to cross thread this, as you have either aluminium cast or powdered metal with plastic. Okay, we have filled our oil to the correct level. We've not overfilled. Hand tight. Do not over tighten that because you will break it. Put our oil to one side. I'll give our funnel a shake out and pop that to one side also. Wipe away any spillages. So, our next port of call after filling with oil, this is how I do it. We've got no fuel in the tank, so it's not going to start. Double check there are no leaks on the other side of the crankcase, which they're not, as the drain plug sometimes becomes loose. So we need to pull it over very slightly. So we need to locate our recoil pull handle. Good compression, and just gently turn it over to lubricate the con rod. Our shell bearing on the crankshaft gets lubricated in oil, so it's not dry for the first time. Got no leaks. So with the oil, SE30. So I use, with any generator, lawnmower strimmer. That's a 4-stroke which uses an additional oil. I use a breaking in procedure, and what I mean by that is my first bottle of oil that I purchase, or the first amount of oil I add to the piece of equipment, is sacrificial. So I'll run this piece of equipment now for 20 hours, and after 20 hours I will pump out, I will drain, pour out the first initial load of oil and dispose of that safely and responsibly. And I will check that for any wear, any metal parts, any filings, get rid of it, and then add a new oil. So with any new generator, any small engine, whether it's a pressure washer or a tiller, that oil, the first use, is going to be lubricating those parts and those mating surfaces and the cam for the first time. So we need to get rid of that and then add a new secondary oil, and then with a regular service interval change that oil to maintain and prolong the life of the piece of equipment. Very good tip, but very valuable, and it's worked for me without any issues so far. So unleaded fuel only. I will be putting a small amount of fuel in, and then I will be refilling it with a quality premium unleaded, and I always use a branded fuel additive, which is an enhancer, and it prolongs the life and longevity of that fuel, and you can store for slightly longer periods without that fuel going off or stale. So our next check is the strainer. They're not easy to get out. They shouldn't ever really come out because they're designed not to fall out and get lost. But just a visual check inside the tank. There's no metal filings, there's no debris, there's no plastic or overspray from the powder coating on that, so that's clean. I'm going to pop that back in. So we'll now fill it with fuel, or add some fuel for its first time use. I'm sure everyone's familiar with safe handling of fuel. Don't use near naked flames. Don't have a cigarette hanging out your mouth at the same time, because that's just stupid. So we'll add our fuel. We'll get our blue tissue paper. I would use a funnel, but due to the setup I'm using to film this, my space is quite limited. So add our fuel into the filler cap. This is just going to be enough to start it, and then I will drain this out and add a full tank of fuel with my fuel saver solution mixed into that as well. It's a 10 litre tank, as we previously mentioned in the first part of the video. So be very careful of any fumes or fuel vapour. And I'm also not using my best kitchen jug. This is my oil fuel jug that I use in my workshop. So fuel in, securely fasten and reattach the fuel filler cap. Wipe down any surfaces. Ensure that your fuel can or the supply of your fuel is closed, the lid's secure, and it's out of the way. Just check underneath of the tank, make sure there's no drips or leaks. Turn the generator around. Okay, so our first initial starting procedure. I'll bring in camera 2. We need to locate our fuel filler pepcock, or our fuel tap. We've also checked initially in the first part of the video that there are no leaks, and our pepcock tank fitting and seal are tight and not over compressed. Our fuel hose is attached from the pepcock to our carburettor with sprung clips, and there are no leaks from that as of yet. So we need to turn our fuel filler pepcock tap to on, so that's facing down. We need to wait a few seconds. I'll loosen the fuel filler cap to allow air into the tank and a natural gravity siphon effect. So we fill our carburettor fuel bowl, float bowl with fuel for the first time. Reattach our cap. So fuel is on, and we have our choke lever, so we need to have it in start. Turning the generator around with our recall start string. Firmly hold on to the frame, or if it's on the ground, gently place 1 foot as where you can to stabilise the unit. fuel engine start stop switch on this particular model is a double pole double throw switch, so it isn't a sprung switch. It's always on and you press it to stop, so it's in our start position. We'll also make sure our economy mode switch is off for the first time. Gently pull. And there we go. And that's our first initial startup. It pulled on the first time. Fantastic. Well done.